Niner fans, how are we doing? How are we feeling? Probably not too great today. The reports came out a little bit. You've seen them. Let's talk about them. 49. Are we cooked, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know. I got to ask you guys that question. But today, obviously, the 49ers got back to practice. Well, some of them did. And Kyle Shanahan met with the media, and he talked about the injuries. And before we even get into any of this today, happy Thanksgiving. I don't know about you guys, but I can't wait for some turkey. The only thing I want to see cooked other than the Niners is turkey dinner tomorrow. So thank you guys for all the support. Happy Thanksgiving from me to you. Let's get into it, shall we? The 49ers, oh my God, had some crazy updates today. Let's get right to it. Let's get to it. Let's do it. So first and foremost, Brock Purdy was limited today in practice. That's what Kyle Shanahan said. He was limited. He did not throw, except he did throw one screen pass today. So they're being very cautious with him. I don't know about you, but I feel like the 49ers are not really telling us everything that's going on with these injuries. And there's going to be some more stuff we talk about that leads me to this. So 49ers are very secretive about injuries. It's a very, very fine line when they talk about injuries. And today, Brock Purdy was limited. He did not throw other than a screen pass. Little screen pass, and he was handing it off. So I get that. I get it. You got to be limited or whatever. But he threw Monday. Sorry, I got this name badge on because I was working with patients. I forgot to take it off. But yeah, so he did throw on Monday. He was good, but today he did not throw. I mean, this is kind of a big game. This is a big practice, the first practice of the week, really, other than they don't even have practice tomorrow because it's Thanksgiving. So then you have Friday. So he's being very limited. And I don't know. I'm a little worried that Brock's not going to play again on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. And if he doesn't play, we all know that Brandon Allen will be quarterback one on that day. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. This was the update according to Nick Wagner. He says Brock Purdy threw one pass during the early portion of Wednesday's practice. It was a short screen during the third period. He did usual handoff work and run install, but no other throwing in the 4 periods we got to see. He stood and watched the rest. That's concerning to me that your starting quarterback's not throwing. He did throw on Monday, and it was good. It was a light throwing session. Today, he didn't. So it is what it is. Some good news, 49er fans. Dre Greenlaw had his practice window open, and he returned to practice. That is huge news for the 49ers. Dre Greenlaw back in practice. Will he play this week? I don't know. It's just nice to know that Dre Greenlaw is back and he's practicing. So shout out to him. Hopefully he could play. Hopefully the Niners can make a little run here at the end, and it'll be significant for him to come back. They need him. The 49ers absolutely need Dre Greenlaw. He's been missed in the run game. He's been missed in anything in the defense. I mean, his energy, the tenacity he brings has been missed. But I'll tell you what is also a reason he's been missed is Fred Warner. Fred Warner's had to take up all the slack because Devondre Campbell has been playing with a blood nickel. And today, Fred Warner revealed, you guys saw the reports, Fred Warner revealed that he broke a bone in his foot. He broke a bone in his foot against the Patriots, and he's played through it. This man's played through an injury for 9 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. Fred Warner said that he has been playing through a fractured bone in his ankle, and he suffered during the Patriots game. That is so crazy to me that he's been playing through a fractured ankle. It really seems like it. When you watch him play, you're like, oh, he doesn't look the same. He doesn't look explosive. He doesn't look like he's, making the plays that he's normally going to be playing. He was a defensive player of the year heading into that Patriots game and that first month of the season. And after that, we've kind of seen him like falling apart. People are like, oh, Fred's terrible. He's lost the sauce. And I knew something had to be up. I kept saying, he's trying to make up for Dre Greenlaw, but he's been playing through a fractured ankle. Shout out to Fred Warner, man. An absolute beast, an absolute dog. Listen to this. Dave Lombardi reported that it's something I deal with before every game. This is what Fred Warner told him. I get on that table before every game and get shot up every game just to be able to roll. He says it's not an excuse. That's the NFL. You're not going to be healthy. It was a fracture when I sprained it. This man has been getting injections to play the game of football because he knows the team needs him. This man has been getting pain injections. What a dog, man. Any other player would probably be on the injured reserve list. So shout out to Fred Warner. Doesn't miss game. I can't believe he's been playing through a fractured bone in his ankle, man. This guy is an absolute freaking monster beast. I love the guy. I can't believe he hasn't missed a game. Anybody else on this team would be missing the game. So crazy, crazy, crazy. So that was the Fred Warner news update. I still can't wrap my head around it. Brock Purdy, again, we mentioned he's been dealing with the shoulder. He didn't really pass throw today. Dre Greenlaw is back. That's great news. Now, the other news of the day is Nick Bosa and Trent Williams did not practice today. You know, Nick Bosa's got the oblique injury. Fred Warner's got the Trent Williams has the ankle injury. I got Fred Warner on the mind. Trent Williams has the ankle injury, ladies and gentlemen. And today it was reported that Trent Williams is using a knee scooter to move around the locker room because he's got too much pain when he's walking on it. That to me was a horrible revelation. That's an update that I did not want to even make. I was like, wow, are you kidding me? So Trent Williams is dealing with an ankle injury. We all know this. He couldn't play last week. He played through the Seattle game, and he definitely didn't look great. And now he's got a knee scooter so he can stay off of his feet because it hurts too much because he can't weight bear. This man begged the 49ers for a contract extension, and now he can't play a game because he's in too much pain. Go rub your feet with some money and make it better. Can you rub your feet with some of those millions? This man held out. The 49ers O-line is so bad without Trent Williams, and they have not been able to address the O-line every offseason. It just boggles my mind. That's a poor decision. The 49ers have been not addressing the O-line. Like, Dominic Pooney's great, but you need to get a tackle because what happens if Trent Williams can't play? He's 36 years old. Guess what? Trent Williams hasn't been able to play, and the O-line was so bad last week. So, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. 49ers did sign an offensive lineman today, a veteran who's been on like 6 teams. This guy, Cameron Irving, he's played on the Panthers. He's played on the Browns. He's played on the Cowboys. He's played on the Chiefs. I don't know. You probably name a team, he's probably played on them. He's been around the league. But they needed an offensive lineman because Jake Brendel has been terrible. Trent Williams, again, he's banged up. They don't know if he's going to play. The man was on a knee scooter today. So that is what's going on. Dominic Pooney was limited today. He has a shoulder injury. Take a look at some of these other injuries. Aaron Banks, he has a concussion. Jordan Elliott, concussion. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles is a knee injury. And Diamond Lenore, he did not practice as well because he has a knee injury. That is a huge injury right there if he can't play. We all know there was an MRI the other day. They didn't tell us the results, but Kyle Shanahan did say that Diamond Lenore will not practice today because of the knee injury. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. So it's tough, man. 49ers just are getting banged up. It's not any time of the season is never good to get banged up, but especially this time of the season. Dre Greenlaw is back, but it doesn't matter because you got Purdy is hurt, Williams is hurt, Bosa's hurt, Fred Warner playing through an injury all season. It's been an absolute wild, wild, wild season, ladies and gentlemen. And that pretty much sums up the reports of what's going on today. 49ers injuries are at the paramount of everything right now. And that is what's just crushing this team. I just still can't believe that Fred Warner has been playing through a fractured ankle. I just can't believe it. And now Dre Greenlaw's back. It's like, how effective is he going to be through this injury? It's great to see him back. But the other thing that kills me, guys, is the 49ers just are not upfront with their injuries. The fact that it's week 13 and we're just now finding out that Fred Warner has a fractured ankle, that's crazy to me. And the fact that he played through it, that's wild. Like, he could have seriously injured. He could have seriously jeopardized his career, right? And then Brock Purdy, I don't even know what's really going on, Brock. They say it's the shoulder soreness. We don't know if there's an actual injury in there, if there's structural damage. What's going on with the shoulder? And then Brandon Allen last week, we found out the man had a broken finger. Like, I get it. It was a couple weeks ago in practice. He wasn't the starter, but he became the starter. And now it's like, okay, you're dealing with the quarterback that's been playing through a broken finger. Why isn't that even – why don't we know about that stuff? Why isn't this being brought up to the media? Oh, man, I don't know. That's everything. Let's get to some of your questions because I see there's a lot out there. Renee says, if Brock Purdy can't play on Sunday, let Dobbs play. I think we all want to see Dobbs at least give us a chance, at least see what he's got. If he sucks, then okay, whatever, we're screwed. Well, he can't be any worse than Brandon Allen. I mean, that's my take on it. Renee says, do you think all these injuries all over the league is because the players were not in training camp long enough? I think that's definitely part of it. I feel like a lot of players They're not in game. They're not in their premium shape they should be. It's unfortunate. These guys want to get money. They want to go, get that bag, but then they don't keep themselves, in football shape. Like, you can go train all you want. These guys are world-class athletes. I'm not saying they're not in shape. Like, I'm sure they're like muscular, they're fit, but to be in game shape, to be in practice and go out there and do the certain specific drills that you need to, be able to do for a game. It's a whole different story. And just be out there in football and get used to the routine, get your muscles stretched. That's the other thing, is these guys aren't stretching, and you go to practice and you're not stretching and whatnot. So there's a multitude of factors, but I definitely think if you're holding out, you're not going to be 100%. They're rusty. Like, people say Christian McCaffrey, he's not as fast. He's a little rusty. Well, yeah, he hasn't played for weeks. All of a sudden he gets thrown back into the roster. And yeah, okay, he did go through his rehab. They were ramping him up because they know they have to get his activity levels up, because he's going to be going into a football game. And Christian McCaffrey just doesn't seem like, himself. And that's just a lot of players, and not just the Niners. I think across the league, players are getting hurt because they're trying to keep themselves safe and healthy because, I don't want to lose my money. I need to make sure I get my money. Brandon Ayuk, prime example. He wanted to make sure he got that bag. He didn't practice. When he was playing with the Niners this year before the injury, he looked terrible. He looked absolutely like gutter trash. Unfortunately, he just was fatigued. He just looked rusty. He looked like he needed WD-40 sprayed across his body, man. And that's bottom line. It's unfortunate, but you got to, no matter what job, no matter what you do, no matter what talent you have, if you're not practicing, you're going to look rusty. You're going to look bad at it, So not enough rest, says Andy. And it's starting to show. Yeah, one of the things is the 49ers have to travel a lot. Obviously, West Coast team, that's a big, factor every year. And then this year, our opponents have a lot of bye weeks. I think 4 opponents with a bye week that we played. Dallas Cowboys came off a bye week. The Chiefs came off a bye week. The Seahawks came off a bye week. The Bills this week coming off a bye week. So it's definitely a disadvantage for the 49ers, no matter how you want to slice it. Some people are going to say, that's an excuse. No, it's 100% a legit answer of why the 49ers may not be, competing at a high level according to some of these, compared to some of these other teams. Niners are tired. These guys are going to be a little bit more refreshed playing the Niners. Niners are banged up, playing with injuries, and then, playing teams that are fresh and a little bit more awake. It's a big factor. So those are definitely key factors for the 49ers. They're getting hurt. They can't score. The defense is on the field too long, and then they get banged up, and it's just a combination of things. And then you got players like Fred Warner playing through a major injury. A couple of weeks ago, you had Trent Williams playing through the ankle injury, and that didn't go well. You had Nick Bosa playing through an injury a couple of weeks ago, right? He played through the hip injury, and then he, pulled the oblique, and now we're here where we're at. And so these Niners are playing through injuries. They're gutting it. But when you're playing through injury, you're not 100%, and then you put your, games, your season at risk, in jeopardy. So it's a cycle. The 49ers, they're pressured. They know they got to get to the promised land. They know they got to make the playoffs. They know they want to run it back. They get hurt. I can't take a break, because if I'm not playing, the team's abilities are going to fall off without me. They play. Team's abilities still fall off because you're not 100%, and it shows out there. Like Fred Warner, bless him, man, bless his heart. The fact that he's trying to play through this is it's amazing. It's, respect to him, but that's just going to really hurt him. And who knows, the damage that he's maybe done to his ankle. But kudos to him for not, having a worse injury. I just can't believe this man's played through a fucking fractured ankle, man. That to me is crazy. I don't think anybody in this league would do it. Fred Warner's built different. So Christine says Debo isn't playing very well. Yeah, he failed to speak to the media. He didn't want to talk to the media today. He dodged and ducking and dodging, and then he spoke on his podcast. And I don't know if you guys saw it. I posted the clip. I post a lot of the clips on my Twitter. And he said that, he was not obligated. This is what he said. This is what Debo said. Let's take a look. This is what Debo, my boy. And I've been the biggest Debo fan out there, man. Me and Debo, we go back. Me and him are cool, man. But today was not the day, my boy. Let me see. Let me see. Where's that Debo clip? That's what he said. I want to get the right words. I don't want to put words in a man's mouth. Okay, so Debo Samuel on the report of him declining to speak with the media after Sunday's game against Packers. He says, normally after the game, if you're obligated to speak to the media, they will approach you. I wasn't approached after I got dressed. Therefore, I headed out of the locker room. So I don't know where that narrative came from. He says he wasn't approached. This man's a captain of the team. This guy's wide receiver one, for all intents and purposes. He's their top guy, one of their highest paid players. You mean to tell me nobody in that media, nobody in that room wanted to talk to Deebo Samuel after that game, after a terrible game, after you had a couple of drops, after that performance? You mean to tell me that nobody wanted to talk to Deebo, probably one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? One of the most outspoken players on the team, the guy that usually is not at a loss for words. You mean to tell me not a single one of you guys, not a single one of those media players, members wanted to talk to Deebo? I call Cap. He says that nobody came up to him. So I left. That's Cap Deebo. And he's on his podcast talking. He's on his podcast. He's just, I still am upset about that. I'm still upset about that. That's cowardly. That's cowardly. Absolutely, Sentinel. Like, he's the cowardly lion. If this was Wizard of Oz, ladies and gentlemen, if this was the Wizard of Oz, Deebo Samuel would be the cowardly lion, because that is absolute BS, man. Go speak. You know what? Fred Warner, they're playing with a broken ankle. Did he speak to the media? Yes. Did he speak to the media? Absolutely. George Kittle, this man's the heart and soul of this team. Motherfucker was mic'd up in a loss. Still spoke to the media. This guy was mic'd up. He had to go and create content in a loss. This man had to create content because, oh, we need our entertainment. For George, here's the mic. We're getting cooked. And he's still making content so they can make money off of him. Did he speak to the media? He did. Fucking Deebo killing me. Fred was at a fan meetup this week. He was at a fan meetup. I know. Fred Warner doing the thing, man. Man, this team is just not serious this year. Not serious, bro. It's not serious. This team just, I don't know, man. And, I love them. But they just don't have that vibe this year. I think they're tired, mentally exhausted, to be expected, multiple NFC championships, Super Bowl, all those things catch up to you 100%. Window's closing. Last year was the perfect opportunity. Who knows what they got left? So, Julia says, imagine instead of Devondre Campbell playing side by side by Warner, it was Eric Kendricks. I think that would have been better. I mean, I don't know how much more you would have got out of Kendricks, but I think that definitely would have been better. I can't believe he sold on us. But now that I see the whole situation and, he knows who the DC is in Dallas, and they were like boys, he probably chose. Oh, well, he didn't probably. That's why he chose the DC for Dallas rather than the Niners' weird situation at DC. Nick Sorensen / Brandon Staley, the buddy DC tandem. It's weird. I don't know. DC's got to go. I think after this season, the first move Kyle's going to do, because, again, I'm on the record saying that I think Kyle's sticking around. I don't think they're going to get rid of him. They're going to use the injuries as the excuse, et cetera, but to keep him around. And, he's got 4 winning seasons, NFC Championship, 2 NFC Championships, 2 Super Bowls, so he's made it pretty far, took this team, he's turned them around. So to his credit, he's done well. But if they don't have a winning season this year, that's the 4th losing season. So 4 winning, 4 losing. That first year is always not guaranteed to be a winning. When you take over a roster, that roster was bad. He was trying to implement his team. So I don't know if you really technically count that first year. COVID year was COVID year. Everybody was hurt. Everybody and the grandmother was hurt. So, yeah, you chalk that one up to whatever. It was kind of a lost season. They didn't even have their own stadium. They played in Arizona. I think the last time the 49ers played the Bills, they played them in Arizona, and it was a home game. So that's what I'm saying. 2020 was weird. So you throw those seasons out the window, and Kyle, he's had some tough moments here and there. He told the media today that he says he's the same person that he was when he always has been. He says he's the same person. He hasn't changed. To some, to him, he probably thought that was a banger. That was a great line. So, yeah, I haven't changed. What am I? I'm not different. This, that, the other. To me, I looked at it and I read it, and I heard it, and I said, you know what? That's the problem. You haven't changed. You haven't evolved. You need to evolve as a person, as a coach, as a human being. You need to continue to change your mindset. And the NFL is an ever-changing game. It's an ever-changing game, and you have to change and adapt with it. And Kyle's saying that he hasn't. He's the same person. He's still the same as he was. To me, that's the way I read it. Was the way I understood it is Kyle is saying he hasn't changed. And to me, it's saying you need to change. You need to adapt to this league. And I think it's evident when we see them playing on the field. There's no second half adjustments all the time. The second half, they kind of fall apart because he's sticking to the same stuff he does all the time. He's not making the genius type plays. Everybody calls him a genius. He hasn't been a genius this year. Things are catching up to him. Maybe teams have figured him out. Get some creativity. We talked about it earlier this week. The razzle dazzle play, has not been there. They did the little trick play the other day, and that was the first time I had seen one in weeks. So yeah. Debo needs to change that number back to 19. Man, he was different. 19 hits different. Sentinel says, major respect to Fred. I thought this rising star status went to his head. I've played on a broken ankle. I don't know. I didn't know I broke until after the skateboard snapped as I landed. That's crazy, man. That's broken bones are not fun, my guy. MSQ says, imagine instead of Banks, Brendel, and McKivitz, the O-line was Trent, Slater, and Humphrey. Pooty or worse. Yeah, this proves they need to invest on 1 and 2. Invest day 1 and 2 in the draft in the O-line. They've had so many opportunities to get major offensive line. Could you imagine? They've had opportunities. Creed Humphrey, they passed on a guy like that. There's been a lot of guys. There was that dude that's on Denver. I can't remember his name. He's the big husky guy. That's their center. There's been massive amount of offensive linemen that they've had that they could have drafted. They just passed on them because they like to wait on O linemen. They get certain players that fit their profile. It's just not great O linemen. And then when you strip away your heart of the offensive line, like Trent Williams, when he's not there, you can see how bad this offensive line really is when they have to kind of step up. Because Trent Williams masks so much on this O line, but this weekend it was bad. I agree. Yeah, fractures definitely are tricky, man. They are tricky. I still can't believe that Fred has been playing through it, man. I really can't imagine playing through a fractured ankle. That guy's tough, dude. MSQ says, non-Niner related question. Who would you rather have between Micah Parsons and TJ Watt? Give me TJ Watt all day, man. That guy's proven that he's just a monster. He can demoralize teams. He could take over games. Like for most of the time, the Steelers, their defense is the heart of that team, and it's usually because of TJ Watt. Like you take TJ Watt out of that team, they're not the same. They got a great coach for sure, but TJ Watt, man, he was. He's definitely Defensive Player of the Year type, candidate every year. You could kind of sometimes make the argument he should be MVP almost every year. Like that guy is so good. Micah Parsons, he kind of disappears in big games. He talks a lot. He's got that podcast. I can't take him serious. He got that podcast. Good player. I'm not saying he's not good. He's a good player. But if I had to choose between TJ Watt and Micah Parsons, there's not even a question in my mind. I don't hesitate. I'm taking TJ Watt 10 times out of 10. My man, Top Shelf says, crazy fans paid for tickets to see Brandon Allen start. We want Dobbs. I was one of those fans. I flew to Green Bay to see, just to see Brandon Allen start against the Packers. I was so sick, man. When I saw that report on Friday, because I already knew I was going down. And when they confirmed, I was like, you really fucked me, Kyle. You really fucking me, man. Unbelievable. It's unfortunate, but, this team, it's just one of those years. This is the craziest year I've seen this team in a long time. Like, just can't. The offseason was horrible. The offseason was just so dramatic. It's been dramatic every year, but I feel like they really didn't learn their lesson. You had Christian McCaffrey get a contract extension, and then he got hurt. It's like, okay. Trent Williams, he was like, I need my money now. Okay. He held out, and now he's kind of dealing with shit. Brandon Ayuk, we all know what happened with him. He was going crazy, vlogging, acting immature, and saying, I want to be traded here. Then they were going to trade him. He says, no, I don't want to go there. Finally paid him, and then he just showed up, and he was a mess, man. Couldn't even have the right shorts one day. Like, it's just all this stuff has been adding up this year, accumulating, and it's been a wild ride. So unfortunate. And, you got players like Fred Warner and George Kittle who just been clocking in. They're punching that clock. and playing their ass off, man. So credit to guys like Fred Warner and George Kittle. And I can't say enough about Fred, man. I cannot believe this guy's been playing with a fractured ankle since week 4, man. 9 weeks, guys. He's played with a fractured ankle for 9 weeks, dude. That's insane. And George Kittle, dude, this guy goes out there every single week, and he's just so amazing. He pumps them up. He hypes them up despite they're losing. Like, he's trying to get this team rolling. You guys saw that mic'd up yesterday. Like, I was like, man, Kittle really had so much energy in that game. No matter what, they were down by big points, and he was just still so, like, enthusiastic. Like, come on, guys, don't give up. That's it. You got a guy like Fred Warner and a guy like George Kittle on this team, and those are heroes. Those are guys that you're like, man, I'm glad I got their jersey. Glad I got to see them play because both of those guys are future Hall of Famers. I'm blessed to see them on this team. But other than that, I don't know what to tell you. This team's been very stressful to watch, to see. Media ripping them apart, and it's kind of justified. Their Niners team doesn't seem like a serious team this year. We could sit here and talk about all the problems, but we've already done it throughout the week. Last night with Larry, we talked about it all, and it's unfortunate. I do think, again, going back to Nick Sorensen, first thing that's going to happen this offseason, let's flash forward to the end of the season. Let's say the Niners don't make the playoffs, or even if they do and they have some type of exit or whatever. First thing that's going to happen, the first major ripple is the 49ers are going to fire Nick Sorensen. And that just leaves you with another dramatic start to the offseason. Here we go again. And then they're going to have a coaching, search on the DC front. This time, I really hope they get someone that's a bona fide, that's like proven DC. No more buddies, no more hiring within, no more like, oh, let me get a guy that the team. No, you need to get a guy that's an actual DC. Nick Sorensen was never a DC, and he doesn't look like the part. The guy looks like he just doesn't know what he's doing. So I think that the Niners need to figure that part out. But it is frustrating because they're going to go through another DC, Salah, D'Amico Ryans. They had Steve Wilkes, and now Nick Sorensen, and now they're going to go back to square one and figure out another guy. Salah and D'Amico, obviously they left because they were so good. We couldn't keep them, but, it sucks, man. 49ers are just continuing to go through DCs. I think it's going to happen again this year. Renee says, I hope you don't stop sports talk radio. No, I won't. I love it. This is my passion. We'll keep rolling. I know like a lot of people like to hear me talk. I know I don't have a big platform on YouTube compared to my other ones, but we love to drop this team and talk about them and, put all the content out. So appreciate y'all. Reject says, you think Sorensen will get fired? Don't see that happening. You don't? I do. Because you got to think about it. Let's just, like I said, flash forward to the end of the season. Let's say they don't make the playoffs and it's a disappointing season. Something needs, like, you don't just, oh, okay, we're going to go about our merry way. No, someone's going to get held accountable. Kyle's not going to fire himself. He's going to say, okay, what's the first thing to do? Sorry, Nick. I'm sorry. We tried it out. Here's a razor. Shave your beard and you're fired. You're out of here. That's what's going to happen, I think. And the only thing I could see, maybe what he might do is he might promote Brandon Staley to that DC position because he was a head coach before. He has more experience. I think that's the one thing that the Niners could do that would really kill the vibe is, okay, if they do get rid of Sorensen, you go on a DC hunt. You go on the manhunt, right, for a DC. But I think the 49ers might just say, okay, we don't want Sorensen. Now we got Staley. He was the co-DC. Let's actually promote him to be the full DC and give him full reign instead of having this, weird situation. I think that would be one way the 49ers look at this. But again, who knows what's going to happen? We don't know who's going to be available. I would love to see Robert Salah come back, but I don't think he comes back to do any favors for Kyle. I think he's gone. He's done. I don't think the Niners would have to beg him to come back. Kyle would have to be on his knees in Walmart to get Robert Salah back, and I don't see it happening. Steve Wilkes, he was better. It's okay to admit. Top Shelf says, we all know Sorensen ain't getting took from us like other coaches. Yeah, Sorensen won't be a hot commodity. Most of the time Niners lose coaches and you're like, oh, man, someone's stealing them. Sorensen ain't getting Sorensen might be coaching in like high school or something after this one. He might, he's definitely not getting his, he's not going to be getting a lot of phone calls. Julia says Dobbs had 4 days with Minnesota's playbook. Couldn't find the locker room and got a dub. Imagine a whole offseason and 11 weeks for the Niners playbook. That's a good point, Julius. That's a good point, my boy. That's the story. Maybe we should post that story. Like Josh Dobbs had 4 days with Minnesota to learn the playbook. Didn't know where the locker room was, and he got a dub. Guy's a rocket scientist, and you ain't starting him? I don't know what's wrong with that. That's weird decisions this year. So we'll see. Anyways, let's recap this news for the day before we get out of here. And you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. So let's go real quick. Again, the 49ers signed offensive lineman Cameron Irving to the practice squad. We'll see what they do with them. I'm sure they'll call him up because Pooney's dealing with the shoulder. Trent Williams dealing with an ankle. The man can't even get around the locker room. So that was the first update of the day. Brock Purdy, he was limited in practice today. He only threw one pass. It was a screen pass. Did not throw other than that. Diamo Lenore, knee injury, did not practice today. Bosa, hip and oblique, did not practice. Trent Williams, he did not practice. Furthermore, on Trent Williams, he used a knee scooter to move around the locker room today due to pain. Yeah, that's not good. Dominic Pooney, limited with the shoulder injury. Kevin Givens, groin, limited. Dre Greenlaw, Achilles, he was limited, but it was his first practice back. Congrats to him. Jordan Elliott, concussion. Aaron Banks, concussion. They didn't practice. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles had a knee injury, did not practice. They rested Christian McCaffrey. And as we mentioned, Dre Greenlaw was back as they opened up his practice window. And that's it. Oh, and by the way, Fred Warner revealed that he broke his ankle against the Patriots, and he's been playing through it ever since. I cannot believe it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. That's your Niners news for the day. I'm still shook. I'm still shook on Fred Warner. They better be upright with this Brock Purdy news. They gotta let us. Come on, man. What if Brock's dealing with something serious? Like, this is what's creeping through my mind now. What if Brock is dealing with something major and they're just not telling us? I don't know. You guys have a good rest of your day. Happy Thanksgiving. Make sure you guys get enough food tomorrow. Eat it up and have a great, great, great Thanksgiving. I love you guys. Have a beautiful, beautiful Thanksgiving. Eat a lot of turkey. I know I will. I'm going to eat some turkey, some potatoes, some macaroni, some stuffing, all of it. Oh, some pecan pie. Woo! Can't wait. Can't wait to get to cooking. Can't wait to get to eating. You guys have a blessed rest of your day. Go Niners, especially Fred Warner.